Hello, my name is Zach McBroom. I am a freshman at MTSU. Um, if for those who don't know what MTSU is Middle Tennessee State University. It's a college in Middle Tennessee, hence the name. But I'm a music student there. I'm studying right now. I'm currently studying music education, but I am I am actually switching majors because I'm a jazz major. I'm going to be switching to jazz studies performance major. But sorry if I seem a little out of breath. But yeah, so what I wanted to talk about today, if you've already seen the thumbnail, I wanted to talk about what are the things that I wish, as from like a jazz perspective, that I knew going into my freshman year, because this I'm at the end. I'm taking my finals right now, actually, and I'm basically done with my first year. And these are the things. This video is going to be directed mainly towards jazz people, especially people class of 2024, who are going to be doing this next year. So I got four main things for you guys. I got four. All right, ready? So the first thing that comes to my mind is start learning tunes now. If you guys don't know what tunes are, there's a list of standards that are just played at jazz gigs, jazz whatever, jazz jam sessions, stuff like Stella by Starlight, Billy's Bounce, stuff like that, stuff that everyone should know. So start learning those now. I know for those who don't know how to learn tunes, I know I didn't know how to learn tunes, but I'm going to walk you through that. But this is what I would say: start learning tunes now. And the reason why I say that is because when I got to college, I didn't really know many tunes. I knew maybe like a 5 or 6. But when I got to college, they were like, "Okay, what does everyone know? And let's call a tune." And then everyone just starts looking at each other, and you're like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't know any tunes." And then you start playing with them, and then you're like, "Oh crap! Well, I can't solo over any of these tunes because I don't know them." So, and this is just one way that you should go about it, but this way I got from actually Vincent Herring's new book, Logic and Critical Thinking in Jazz Improvisation. He talks about in his book. He talks about his process and what he recommends students do for learning tunes. So first off, don't just learn one tune a week. Everyone thinks that you should. Don't do that. Learn 2 to 3. And this is what I would recommend. And this is what Vincent Herring recommends. So do one standard. So let's just say, let's say this. Okay, let's choose a standard. Let's do All the Things You Are. All right, that's one standard, and you learn that, and then this is over the course of a week. So you do All the Things You Are, and then you do a ballad. So Body and Soul, let's just say that, and then you do a blues head. So since it could be any blues, it could be a standard blues, it could be a bird blues, whatever. So let's say you want to learn Billy's Bounce. So those are your 3 tunes for the week. And what you do is the beginning of the week, let's say Monday through Wednesday, you spend on just 1 tune. So if we're doing all the things you are, the first day, what you're going to do is what Vincent Herring says to do is you learn every single part of the song. And before we even talk about any of that, you have to listen. You have to listen to the song at least 10 times. It doesn't have to be the same recording. As long as, what I would recommend is just going through Spotify and just looking at like every single different version. Like let's just say if we're doing Days of Wine and Roses, Tony Bennett's got a version, Ella's got a version, I think. There's so many different versions. So you can, I would recommend looking at those. But typically what you want to do is whenever you're learning something, go to like the oldest recording. So go, like there's a wiki page usually for it. So I would say go look up, if we're looking up Body and Soul, look up Body and Soul. There'll be a wiki page for it. It'll show you the earliest recording. It'll show you the earliest recording of it, and you go to that. I think the earliest recording of Body and Soul is Louis Armstrong playing it. So go look on YouTube somewhere and find it, and that will have the original melody. Transcribe that. And okay, back to learning every single part. So learn every single part of it. If it's got a piano intro, learn it. If it has harmony to it, learn it. If it has words, learn the words. Especially when you're playing ballads, learn the words because it helps you with your phrasing so much. And take me on that, please. So learn that. I'm sorry, this video is going to be a little long, but learn that. And then okay, after you do that, what you want to do is don't touch your horn yet. Do not touch your horn yet. What I want you to do is if you have a piano, that's great. But if you don't have a piano, find a place that has a piano that you can consistently go to. Don't go to not Guitar Center because they're going to kick you out. But go somewhere that you can consistently go to, whether that's your school, somewhere, a practice room, somewhere that you can consistently have a piano. Because what you're going to want to do is you want to start learning the chord changes on piano. What I would recommend, which I want to talk about this more later, but what I would recommend is doing tonic in the left hand, so just 1 in the left hand, and doing 3 and 7 in the right hand for every chord. I'll talk about that more later, but excuse me. But yeah, so learn that. After you've learned the melody and the chord changes, that's great. But don't move on to another section. So if you don't have the melody memorized, don't move on to the chords until you know that you have the melody memorized. Don't move on. Because if you move on, the next day when you hit it again, you're not going to remember it. So it has to be completely memorized. And then for the next day, so that was Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, you're just going to do the same thing over again. You're going to review the head, you're going to review the chord changes, and you're going to review all that piano intro, lyrics, all of it. Review all of it. And then start working out, start trying to solo over it. What I'd recommend is taking a recording that you love. So if it's on Green Dolphin Street and you really like the recording of Miles Davis and Train and Cannonball on that, then take that, start playing with that recording, play and see what they're doing, see how they're phrasing how they're phrasing the melody and how they're phrasing their solos. Are they playing lines over the first A section, or are they just kind of playing motifs? See kind of what that is. So, and then what you're not gonna you're not gonna move on. You're not gonna move on to the next tune till Wednesday. And then talking about soloing again. Don't use backing tracks. It's okay to use backing tracks if you're in a crunch. So like iReal Pro is great for for if someone says, "Hey, I got this gig and I need you to learn these 6 tunes by tomorrow." That's iReal Pro is great for that. But try not to use iReal Pro or like the backing tracks on YouTube, just not because they're bad or anything like that. Try not to use them when you're learning a tune, because what you want to do is you want to get the changes in your ear. And if you're just listening to those, if you're just leaning on the backing tracks too much, then you can't fully comprehend, you can't like fully understand the chord changes as much as say like hey, play me a solo right now and I want to hear every single chord change without a backing track. That should be your goal. Is if I were to tell you to play a solo and I need to hear every single change in the tune, I need you to do that. Okay. So then Wednesday you do the whole process over again with the next tune. So with the ballad, you do the whole process over again, and then like the weekend, you learned you learn the blues head. And another thing, last thing on this topic, when you're learning the next tune, don't forget the last tune. Don't just like push it off to the side. Review it. Just review it. Whatever that has to be. So just play the head and play, do a couple of choruses and then head out. A couple, right before you start digging into the next tune. But you don't want to forget those tunes. All right. And that's enough for the first one. All right. But that kind of brings me to my second point. Piano is so important. Piano is important. Learning piano now, right before you get into college, and even while you're in college. One thing that I've realized is college is just a continuation. It's not like this is the beginning. It's the beginning of a new chapter. But college is so cool because it's like all these opportunities and stuff like that are opened. And you're like that much closer to the real world. But that's enough of that. So learning piano now is so important. And it doesn't have to be like, I didn't know a lick of piano before I started it this year. But like I said earlier, if you just start simple with tonic in the right hand, if in the left hand, excuse me, and 3 and 7 in the right hand, you're golden. You're good. And obviously, what you want to do as you're progressing through the year, you're going to want to, build your technique a little bit. So scales, like 5-finger patterns, and you'll have class piano. I'm sure whatever school you go to will have a piano class that they require their students to take. But and that will help. But doing when you're learning those tunes, doing 3-1 and 3-7 was great, and also like when you're going on, like what I'm focusing on now is like learning different voicings. So instead of, if I'm playing a 2-5-1, instead of like going 2-5-1, like instead of doing that and doing all the jumping, like there's voicings where you only have to like move like a couple of fingers, and it's great because then that, and why piano is so important is because if you're a horn player like me, instead of being like A, C, E, okay, that G, that's A minor, instead of like thinking about all the theory in your head, like you can just see like how close the chords are in front of you. Okay, so that's tip number 2. Start learning piano as soon as you can. Tip number 3. This is something I didn't do very often, just because my private lessons teacher didn't really. Sorry, I'm getting a little thirsty. Excuse me. So I didn't really start doing this very often, and what this topic is so important, for jazz, but also for multiple reasons. And that topic is transcribing, the scary T word. I know I was scared when I started learning, when I first got into college, and I was like, and I was given my first transcription. It was it was, who was it? Oh geez. It was Sippin' at Bells, the Jackie McLean solo on Sippin' at Bells. Jackie McLean is an amazing I'm an alto player, and my professor Don Alico, shout out to him. He gave me him to start working on bebop language, and it was great. It gave me a lot of it started opening the door and started like turning the wheels in my head for it. But what I will say for transcribing, first off, start transcribing as much as you can. But be careful when you're transcribing. Transcribing is such a good thing because it works your ear, it works your mind, it works your technique. But don't just transcribe something random. Don't be like, oh, that sounds cool, I guess I'll transcribe that. No. Don't transcribe something that you don't love. Transcribe something that you love. For like, if you love Bird, if you love the way that Bird just plays, every single, like, let's take Bird with strings. Like, if you love all those like 16-note phrases, and you love all those phrases, and you love or you like the way that that Clifford Brown plays bebop lines, or in his tone. Transcribing is not just for, it's so important because it builds your vocabulary. For those who don't know what vocabulary is jazz is like a language, and over certain sounds and certain things, there are in certain scenarios, there are certain things to say. Just like when I wake up in the morning, I don't say good night. Instead, I say good morning. I hope you have a great day. See, like stuff like that. It's the same thing with jazz. Learning language and learning what to say because really we're like infants. Holy crap, this is a long video. I'm sorry. um, but yeah, so learning that stuff is so important. But all right. And then when you're transcribing these things, try to soak up don't just try to get the notes. There's a great video of Patrick Bartley talking about this, and what he was saying was, don't try to just get the notes. Like, so many people try to get the notes and they're missing the biggest part of transcription. Don't just try to get the notes. Try to soak up every little aspect of whoever you're transcribing is playing. So if I'm transcribing Bird on Birdwood Strings, getting like those little, like, where he puts like those little growls in, like, or he puts some of that sass where he'll put vibrato at the end of the note, or he'll like, instead of playing really forte, he'll play really pianissimo, like stuff like that. That is so important. And people think, oh, if I just learn this lick, I would just be great. But music is so much more than just learning a lick or just learning a little riff. Music is whatever our personality is. It's us expressing ourselves. But yeah, and then another thing is write it out. Right, if it's possible, of course. Like, if you're transcribing something that's ridiculously fast, then I wouldn't recommend writing it out. But also, if you're just first transcribing, you probably don't go super hard where you're going giant steps, like John Coltrane on giant steps. Start off something easy, like a blues solo that you really like, or something, or a good place to start, especially for like bebop. Like like Charlie Parker on Cherokee. That's a great solo for bebop, and it's not that hard. Like, start out simple. Don't try to, but stuff that you like, of course. And then write it out. And then lastly, don't try to play it. Don't try to learn it until you've listened to it a million times. Don't try to learn, Charlie Parker on Cherokee until you've listened to it and can scat it with the man. Alright, last topic. Last thing. When you're transcribing these, tip number 4 is take these little licks, these little nuggets that you love, like, and put it in the 12 keys. So, like, if you hear Bird go, or even like, take that lick over the first couple bars, write it out in every single key, in all 12 keys, and start learning it, and start trying to play it. What the biggest thing I would say is, with the licks, you gotta, when you're learning these tunes, there's 2/5s all over the place. I would recommend starting with 2/5 licks, of course. You don't have to, but it just is a really good place because 2/5 licks are a hard thing, especially when you're first starting out. But when you're learning these tunes, take those licks that you're transcribing and plug them in verbatim. You're not stealing it. You're plug it in. And so if you're playing on Green Dolphin Street, and you hear this really nice 2/5 lick that you heard Bird play, take the lick and play it verbatim on those 2 sets of 2/5s. And then what you can do later is you can start like saying, hey, I wonder how I can change this lick up. Maybe I'll just play the first part of the lick and then improvise the rest, and then play the second part of the lick. But that's for a video for another day. Alright, to wrap it up, there's a lot of things that you can do, um, starting out as a freshman. Music school is hard, and it's not for everyone. Um, but these are just some tips to help you along the way and things that I wish I knew, um, going into it. I'm really excited to see this, and really excited to share this with you guys. Anyways, my name is Zach McBroom, and I hope you enjoyed this.